Welcome back, you guys, to the Energy Center podcast. We are here, episode number 42. And what a full moon it was last night. We had the full super moon in Aries. And please know, whatever time you are listening to this podcast is exactly when you need to be hearing it, because the universe has this divinely intelligent way of reaching you, of sending you the love notes and the messages exactly when you need to receive them. And so today's episode is going to be all about the divine feminine. I'm going to get into that shortly, but first I want to talk about this Aries super full moon that we had last night here. And this full moon is, all full moons are about a time of culmination, about bringing a major life lesson into fulfillment. A super full moon really amplifies and magnifies the intensity of the energy. And the sign of Aries, if you're not familiar with the zodiac signs or you don't know what Aries is all about, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. And so it really is a time of new beginnings, rebirth. Aries has a lot to do with our personal power, our passion, our fire for life, our authentic self. And so wherever you are, whatever time you are listening to this podcast is exactly when you need to receive it. And so from my perspective, from the collective energy that I'm feeling right now, I know that so many of us have been having intense, incredible shifts in our lives. Lots of healing coming through, lots of transformation coming through. It almost feels like it's endless and nonstop, and it's been happening for a lot of us in the collective since 2020. So over the last 5 years, it's been like new lesson after new lesson after new lesson. And so in this full moon of Aries, we've finally come to this place where I know who I am. I've been doing all the healing work. I've been releasing so much, some of these old stagnant emotions, traumas, energies, other people's stuff that's not serving me. And so I know more than ever who I am. And now it is time to start to be who you are. Because your soul came here to be your truth. Your soul did not come here to play by someone else's rule book. Your soul did not come here to conform and to just try to fit in with everybody else. Your soul came here at this time to be your authentic self. And so what I feel really called to talk about today, what feels so authentic to me, and what I know is very relevant and supportive for many of the people, all of you conscious leaders, light workers, and healers out there, is the divine feminine. It's funny because this is really the whole topic of the divine feminine, and the essence of our feminine energy is something that I've really embodied within myself over the last few years. And it is what I'm guiding my clients into. I had a retreat last spring called Awaken the Goddess. And I just realized a couple of days ago that I haven't even talked about the divine feminine on this podcast. And so it's time, it's way overdue that we discuss the divine feminine and what it's all about. And so how this might be of benefit to you is noticing and understanding, where is my energy been excessive? Where and how has my energy been too much over my whole lifetime? So it's interesting. I'm going to talk about masculine and feminine energies. And I first want to say, this is in no way bashing men. It doesn't matter what gender or sex you are. We all have different levels, different degrees of feminine and masculine energy. This is how the universe works. And so some of us might have a tendency to be more feminine in our energy. Some of us might have a tendency to be more masculine in our energy. In some situations, we might be excessive in either case. But at the end of the day, they're meant to work together. They're meant to come together in union. and work as one and work as a whole. We're not meant to be super overly in our masculine energy all the time, because then we burn out. If we don't have the feminine coming in, then we're not taking care of ourselves. We're burning out. We're thinking too much. And I'm going to talk about the differences between the two. But essentially, I heard an astrologer on Instagram that I follow say this the other day, and it resonated so deeply. And it's something that I always knew in my soul, but he put it in such beautiful words. His name is Evan Nathaniel Grimm. And he said, we live in a universe of duality. We can't not. That's how our universe is. And the way that we learn is through that duality. We learn the difference between right and wrong, good and bad, love and hate, right? So we have these extremes, these polar ends of the spectrum. And so we're really meant to learn from both ends of the spectrum and then figure out and decide what is true to me, what is authentic to me. If we didn't have opposites, what would be the point, right? What would we be learning? We wouldn't be learning anything if we were all the same. If we were in a world full of all women, right? It would be really challenging to see and experience that opposite end of the spectrum without having men on the planet. If everything on the planet was white, we wouldn't know what color was, right? And so we learn from things that are different from us. And this is what brings it all home at the end of the day. We're all meant to learn from each other. We're meant to learn from our differences and decide what is most aligned and authentic to us in our soul. And so, what is masculine energy? Let's start there. So, I like to speak in terms of divine. So, when these energies are balanced, when the masculine is balanced and functioning appropriately and thriving, then it's the divine masculine. And same thing with the feminine. When the feminine is in balance and harmony and it's functioning at a high level, then it's the divine feminine. And so the divine masculine energies, when you think of masculine energy, you have to just feel into, what do I think of? Divine masculine is grounding. It is stable. It is secure. It protects. It's trusting. It trusts. Divine masculine energy also takes inspired action. Divine masculine energy is confident and empowered. Divine masculine energy also is able to problem solve effectively and come up with innovative strategies and techniques and ways of doing things, right? So this is when the masculine is imbalanced. Let's just talk about excessive. When the masculine is out of balance, when the masculine energy is too much, it is not protected, or it's overprotected. So when the masculine energy is excessive, it's overprotective. It's not letting anything in. Right? It's too much of that grounding energy, too much safety, too much security, not going outside of itself, not trusting outside of itself. When the masculine energy is excessive, it's working too hard. It's doing too much. It's too controlling, wanting to control everything and everyone around it. And when the masculine energy is excessive, it thinks too much. It is overly logical. It's really super book smart and no street smarts, right? It's really based on overly scientific and not able to see other possibilities. And so let's talk about the feminine now. So the feminine, when the feminine energies are divine and in balance, then the feminine is going with the flow. It is creative. It is passionate and in love with life. Okay? When the feminine energy is in balance, it is nurturing, heart-centered, loving, taking care of oneself, and has compassion to share with everyone around. And when the feminine energy is in balance, it is intuitive. It is wise. It just knows. And so when the feminine energy is excessive, so maybe it's like too lazy, it's sleeping too much, it's not getting any work done, it's just kind of hanging out, not really contributing, right? When the feminine energy is out of balance, the heart is closed, the heart is not open, the heart is closed, you're not able to share love or give love to others. When the feminine energy is out of balance, it's not using the intuition. And actually, when it's excessive, it's like too much up in the ethers, floating around in the space, just waiting for divine, quote, divine timing, and not using its logic or not using its thinking mind at all. So we really want to come into union. So how can both of these come into union and be balanced? A state of union would look like trusting and feeling safe on this earth and in your body. It would look like going with the flow and feeling inspired by life and then taking action from your inspiration, loving with an open heart, speaking your truth. It also looks like having this beautiful balance between your intuition and your logical mind and your thinking mind. So letting the intuition give you the spark, give you the ideas, and then the thinking mind problem solves on how it's going to make it happen. So do you see how these energies are meant to work together? They're not meant to be separate or seen as opposing or challenging the other. They're supposed to be working together. And so you might notice or observe that right now, especially in our Western culture, we live in this society where there's rampant, excessive masculine energy. And so that looks like all of us on a collective, not feeling safe, working, doing way too much, not resting, and way too in our thinking minds, in the ego. The thinking mind I also call the ego. Way too much in our negative thinking mind ego and not connecting to, trusting, and listening to our intuition. And so how did all this happen? Where did all this come from? So from a historical perspective, millennia ago, thousands and thousands of years ago, the world was in this state where there was balance. And maybe even in some situations, some cultures were living in matriarchal societies, so where the divine feminine was actually worshipped and revered. And at some point, thousands of years ago, several thousands of years ago, the patriarchal societies or cultures started to take over. And there was actually and again, this happened over thousands of years. It didn't happen overnight, but eventually the divine feminine, the feminine energies were being suppressed. And so we see lots of remnants of this in our culture today. Feminine energy is not validated or even celebrated or appreciated. Women in general throughout the whole world are suppressed. And there is this awakening happening. There is an consciousness that's coming in, that this way of being in this overly masculine culture, society, ways of living is not serving us. It's actually really detrimental to our systems, because any system that is out of balance for a prolonged period of time is going to fail. It's going to collapse. And so there is this awakening happening, and those that are really in tune energetically and spiritually know this, and they're feeling it. I've been moving through profound shifts, coming deeply into my feminine energy. And I posted a really silly, funny reel on my Instagram page the other day, like, I would love for the divine feminine to just, boom, wake up overnight. And for all of us women to be in our divine feminine and going with our creativity and just loving openly and nurturing ourselves, nurturing each other, being really connected deeply to our intuition. And at the same time, I know that things here on earth take time. It takes time for us to heal. It takes time for us to release all of the traumas that have happened to our souls, all of the programming that we've experienced in this lifetime. And so it's kind of a calling or an invitation to check in with yourself. Where am I at with my masculine and feminine energies? Do I have an opportunity to explore more of my feminine? And men, this is for you too. You have feminine energy. And for some men, that's hard to hear. But again, we are all the parts of us come together as one. And so, yes, men, you have the ability to be creative and go with the flow. And men, you have the ability to love and nurture. You have the ability to be intuitive. And, and when we're in relationship, a lot of times when we're in relationship, there's one person in the relationship that tends to be more masculine in their energy. There's one person in the relationship that tends to be more in their feminine energy. And so you don't have to be both in the relationship. In my relationship with my partner, I really love being in my feminine energy. And I've learned this over the last few years. It wasn't always like this. We've been married for 13 years now. And something that I discovered was that I really love being in my feminine, and I really love letting him be in his masculine. The masculine leads, and the feminine surrenders to that. And for some feminists, that might be hard to hear. But if you just sometimes let the masculine lead, and then you come in and share your intuitive hits, it creates magic. It just creates this like beautiful, again, union. So where are you when it comes to your masculine and feminine energies? What do you feel like you're ready to step into more? What is your system, your energy, your knowing calling you to be more of? I know for a lot of women, there's a call to be more in your feminine. There's a call to learn how to access your intuition again, to learn to love yourself again, to learn to really follow your passion and your purpose. And so let me go back a little bit to the history. So the feminine was suppressed over time. There was lots of atrocities committed against the feminine. There was the Salem witch trials, right? So there's like more and more information coming out that these women who were persecuted and killed were just being in their divine feminine, going out in the woods and collecting herbs and flowers and making tinctures, right? And they were labeled witches and murdered because of it. There's been just kind of an annihilation of women as leaders throughout our history, because women were portrayed or made to feel or labeled as being weak. And so how can women lead when they're weak? And again, there's this awakening happening. And the awakening, yes, I'd love for it to come overnight. But in reality, from a soul level perspective, a lot of healers and light workers at this time had soul past lifetimes, have parts of their souls that have really been injured and have taken on trauma from these past lifetimes. The witch wound is a really common thing I see in my clients and the people that I work with, or this just generational trauma that has been carried from their mother's lineage and that they're holding on to in their system because of the feminine energy being suppressed, because of not being able to be yourself, hiding your truth, right? And so there is an opportunity for healers and feminine leaders to really let themselves move through the healing work that they need so they can be their authentic self in the world and share their divine feminine energy, be their divine feminine and share it. And so I know for me, I definitely had blocks in my sacral energy center. So blocking myself from experiencing joy, blocking myself from feeling passionate for life, because a lot in my lifetime, a lot of my trauma was not feeling safe, not feeling secure. I know this is like past life karma as well, as that my energy, my soul was holding on to, feeling blocked in just loving myself and nurturing myself and accepting myself, feeling blocked in expressing myself. This is huge. A lot of women who are here to step into their power, there's a need to move energy through the throat chakra because that is how we share, is with our voice, right? That's how we communicate in this 3D reality, is through our voice a lot of times, most of the time, 99% of the time, at least that's how humans communicate, is through the voice. And so it's really an opportunity for women to connect more deeply to their voice. And then I know I was always an intuitive little girl, but I didn't understand what intuition was. I thought just everyone experienced the world in that way. And because I didn't trust, because I had so much fear, the intuition was blocked and the thinking mind was super active and strong, overpowering, overshadowing my intuition. And so why did the feminine get suppressed? The feminine was suppressed because it was a threat to the ego. So wisdom is a divine feminine quality. The ego, a balanced ego, is the masculine quality. And so when the wisdom can just come in and know the answers, then that's a threat to the ego. Then the ego is worried about its own survival. And so you might see this divine feminine way of being, kind of just knowing all of the time and being guided intuitively. And the ego just wants to be right all the time. The ego wants to problem solve. The ego wants to fix everything. The ego doesn't like external threats. And so it's kind of quite natural that the ego came in to suppress and push down and just kind of try to wash away the wisdom, the intuition. And so maybe all of these energies of the feminine, creativity, love and nurturing, compassion, intuition, maybe all of them are speaking to you. Maybe you'd like to be more of that. It all starts by coming back home to yourself. And I love how this episode is coming full circle. This is how we do. So this full moon of Aries is about coming back to your authentic self and being your authentic self. And so you can think all day and journal all day about who you are and who you want to be. But it's time, beautiful soul. It's time, divine goddess. It's time, conscious leader, to take the action. It is so important to let yourself experience your own healing. If you are not healing yourself, you are not evolving yourself. If you are not giving yourself the time and the space to remember why your soul came here, if you are not taking the steps to connect with your soul, then you're going to stay in this unconscious realm of just do to do, day to day, doing the same things in and out. But the moment you allow yourself to go inward, to bring your awareness inward and truly start to connect to your soul, that's when the integration starts to happen. That is when the body, the mind, and the soul come together and you start to build awareness. And we have to act on our passions. We have to act on our inspirations. It's, again, this excessive masculine energy that has the thinking mind come in, that has the ego come in to suppress the feminine, the inspiration, the passion. And so why do we keep letting that happen? Why do we think we have to be like everybody else and go to work every day, the same job every day, and do something that we despise inside and be someone who we know we aren't truly, and be in relationships that aren't serving us, right? It's because the ego just wants us to be safe. The ego just wants to suppress the passion and the creativity and the wisdom. And I'm not demonizing the ego. I'm just saying it's excessive. So, hey, ego, let's come into balance. You're meant to work with my wisdom. I'm going to rewrite the story of the ego and the negative thinking mind and bring it together in a way that really supports me and really serves me, instead of a way that burns me out, that makes me feel disconnected, that makes my nervous system on edge. So when we talk about masculine and feminine, masculine energy is fight or flight mode, is the sympathetic response. Feminine energy is the parasympathetic response. It's rest and digest. And so where do you think we are in the West? We are like consistently in fight or flight. We don't even know rest because we've been so programmed to be stressed out all of the time. And so let's bring it in. Let's bring it back together. Let's allow our soul to be who we came here to be. And let's bring the feminine back in. The feminine energy is so beautiful. When you feel into the feminine energy, close your eyes with me for a moment. When you just feel into the energy of the feminine, it feels so sweet, right? And colorful and sensuous and just, yeah, it flows beautifully. And think about, what if I was able to use my intuition more and more and less rely on my thinking mind? Just think of how much energy you would save in general, right? So it's time. I can go on and on about this topic forever. And what I really want you to receive from this is just the awareness, is just the knowing and the inspiration. And then let your soul guide you from there. Let your side guide you into what you want to do with it. Do I want to really learn more about the divine feminine? Do I want to receive some healing? Do I want to become a badass, intuitive man or woman? Right? So beautiful souls, always remember where you can find me to learn more about what I do. Again, my name is Dana Teresa. You can head to my website, danateresa.com. You can also check out my Instagram, watch that silly reel I made about the divine feminine awakening. It's really cute and funny. And my Instagram is at Dana Teresa Star. But stay tuned. Let's just say this is part 1. Part 2, we're going to take it even higher. We're going to take it to the next level. So thank you so much, beautiful souls. I love you. Namaste.